develop is not only a concern of the human race, Mr. Speaker, but it's also, Mr. Speaker, a cheaper way of generating energy, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like the Energy Committee to also look into the various tariffs and regulations that has made it so difficult, Mr. Speaker, for renewable energy, particularly the solar energy, to be used in this country, Mr. Speaker. As you are aware, Mr. Speaker, recently taxes were levied upon solar products, making it expensive, Mr. Speaker, to generate energy through the natural resource of solar, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is surprising that Kenya Power can make millions of losses, Mr. Speaker, when it is a monopoly that is selling power to the citizens of this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the statement of the Chair for Energy, he has alluded to the Electrocana wind power supplying energy to various counties, Mr. Speaker. I do support that, Mr. Speaker, but on the same note, that Lake Victoria wind power must be investigated, Mr. Speaker. As you are aware, that is part of the projects that caused electricity bills to be increased arbitrarily by Kenya Power to cover the losses that they generated and created through the Lake Turkana wind power, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is need for Kenya Power to optimize on the transformers already in various parts of this country, Mr. Speaker, where you will find one transformer serving 2 families, Mr. Speaker, while the transformer's capacity to serve more than 200 households, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Kenya Power should concentrate in optimizing the already existing transformers as they look into the faulty transformers, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, they should also consider so many companies that collapsed because of the so-called wrong tenders or what, a majority of which were youth companies in this country, women companies, and a majority were local.
Honorable Senator Mandago, your time is up. Honorable Eddie Gisheru, you've signed in as Madzayo Stewart Mashiru Senator for Kilifi. Very well. I hope then you will properly represent the office of the acting.
Yes. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand in for the minority leader who has been called for a few urgent matters. I think that I wanted to humbly say, and this one, chair or the Energy Committee, it's very critical that issues of energy and food are some of the issues that are directly related to policy, as my brother Senator Kajwang of Homa Bay had said. And I think that is critical that where we find ourselves today as a nation, even as you consider this matter, the chair of Energy Committee, is very critical that you find a nexus with the executive. Because the moment you have declared that food and energy have to go to the market, then it is subject to market forces. Because the high cost of energy that we see today in the country is truly as a function of demand and supply as we see it. Because if you look at the regulator in our economy today, EPRA basically uses the 3 adjustment indices or variables to look at energy prices. They use the fuel, this is confusing, but it's fine. They use fuel, forex, and inflation. But this fuel surcharge, for instance, which is the biggest variable in energy issues, has skyrocketed highest in the last month, where we have seen a historic 6.7 rise in the cost of surcharge, because these issues have been left to the market forces. I think it is critical that the nexus, just 1 minute, Mr. Speaker, enjoying the rights of the minority leader. I think that it's critical that we review the policy that energy in its all senses should not be considered an issue of consumption. It is an issue of production, because if the president chooses, for instance, to say that we are going to subsidize things like fertilizer and not energy, which directly goes to production, then as a country, we are born to have these kind of problems. Because you remember that in January, when the former president cut these energy issues, for the first time, last month is when we saw the increase in energy with about 15.7%. So I think that just find a way of ensuring that there's a nexus between policy that defines the issue of subsidies on energy as a function of production instead of a function of consumption. Then
Senator, thank you very much. Senator Karungo Thangwa Paul Kiambu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I think as a House, we stand a very good chance of liberating this nation by coming up with the legislations that are going to help the executive lower the cost of energy or electricity in this country. Mr. Speaker, I remember during the President's address to this House, he mentioned that he's going to allow cooperatives to generate power and to sell power within their areas of energy in this country, to explore what the President meant by that, so that at least we can allow those who are able to form cooperatives and generate power. Maybe they come from areas where there is a high speed of water flow. Maybe they can use solar and generate power. Maybe the counties themselves can turn waste to energy. And the kind of energy they use, the remaining, or I'm looking for the right word, they can hook it to the national grid. So, Mr. Speaker, I believe there is so many things we can explore from what the President meant during his address. And I believe this committee is up to the task, and we can come up with a legislation that will help lower the cost of production and lower the cost of energy in this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Thangwa. Senator Oyomo Beatrice Akinyi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the chance. I support from the onset the statement by the chairman of the Energy Committee. Honorable Speaker, my heart bleeds each time there's a mention of faulty transformers. In Homa Bay County, where I come from, all the transformers that were brought to the county were all faulty. 3/4 of them were faulty. It is so unfortunate that transformers were supplied and taken to schools under the last mile connectivity program. And it is so unfortunate that those transformers, 3/4 of them, remain inactive, rendering our schools dark and all the public facilities on which these transformers were built. Honorable Speaker, it is also worth noticing that energy is an enabler of development. And as I support, I would like to also insist that the Rural Electrification Authority must also answer for all the transformers that remain inactive in this country, and particularly Homa Bay County, where I come from. Our people did not get value for money with the supplies of the transformers, and it is unfortunate somebody was paid for this supply, and our place remains dark. I support.
Thank you very much, Senator Beatrice. Senator Keroche Tabitha Karanja.
I also want to thank the chairman chairman on the energy, Senator Wamatangi, for bringing this important statement because I know Kenya Kwanza has up in its plan, they have on how they are going to bring energy down. Bringing energy down means lowering the manufacturing cost and ensuring that we lower the cost of living. But now mine is to mention that Naivasha, and particularly Nakuru County, produces 50% of the energy or the power that we use in the whole of the country. And when you come around at Naivasha, even at night, you find it's dark. There's no street lights. The people living around there, they have no power. In their rural areas, you find there's no power. So I'm so happy and welcoming the new energy minister. Even as we talk of lowering the energy, the power, we should be talking of where that energy comes from. That is Nakuru County, the Kengen, geothermal, or Karia, where we produce 50% of all the energy that is used here in Kenya. So it means Nakuru, Naivasha, Nakuru County should be given cheaper, lower rate than any other part of this country. And we'll be pushing for that, we'll be fighting for that to ensure that we as the producers, we enjoy and we enjoy that resource comes from Nakuru County, particularly Naivasha. So, thank you, Wamatangi. We'll be talking more on this because I'll be pushing to ensure that Nakuru County, the energy rate becomes lower than any other part of this country because that is where the energy is coming from. Thank you, and we'll be seeing you many times. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much, Senator Tabitha Keroche. I want us to close on this, but I'm seeing there is one last request by Senator Asige. So I'll invite Senator Asige Kokegehi Crystal to also give her comments on the statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to chime in on this discussion about energy. I am a person that likes to ask questions because questions leads to research and research leads to more knowledge. On the comments that have been made about solar power is incredibly useful, especially for tropical countries like we have in Africa that have a lot of solar energy throughout the year. However, Mr. Speaker, I believe the issue with solar energy is not the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Solar that we do get and can harness, especially if you have a use case. I think the problem begins at night, Mr. Speaker, because at night, when it comes to nighttime, it means that we need lithium batteries in order to store that solar power that has been harnessed during the day. And in my research, Mr. Speaker, lithium companies are selling their batteries at extraordinary rates, and that is actually the problem. So when we're looking into, and when the Committee of Energy is looking into solar power and how we can harness it more here in the country, we need not look at it being an all-encompassing positive through getting solar energy, but we also need to look on the flip side, Mr. Speaker, which is how are we going to store this energy, because that is the problem. In South Africa, I believe that just in the last year, they used around 100 megawatts of solar energy because they have more technology around lithium batteries. But in Kenya, I believe last year we used maybe just 30 to 40 megawatts. I think the issue is, and should be looked into, the pricing. How can we work together with these lithium companies to make their prices lower? Because, Mr. Speaker, if an average household was to put up solar panels and also get lithium batteries to store in the evenings, then they would have about 6 to 7 years of payback rate to cover the expense that they have incurred from buying these batteries. But for a company, for a factory, for an organization, university, one that uses a lot of solar power and has the money to afford these batteries, they could pay back in about 2 years' time. So when we're looking at solar power, to the chair of the Energy Committee, I would also encourage that we look into lithium batteries and how we can make them more affordable, not just to big companies and factories that can afford it, but also to the smaller households across the country. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Sige. I was generous to allow you to go beyond the time I had allowed the rest of the senators, because I wanted to listen to the cost of lithium and how the cost is generally exorbitant. Lastly, Senator Mundigi Alex Munyi. I'll lock you out in the next 1 minute. Go ahead, Senator.
Yangu ni kuunga mjadala wa Matinga mkono, kwa sababu katika Kenya kama kuna watu wameumia ni watu wa Embu County, majimbo ya Embu, kwa sababu hapo mwanzo mambawa ya maji imetoka Embu, Kiambere Dam, Masinga Dam, Gitaru Dam na Kindaruma Dam. Yangu ni kusema kama hiyo mambo itaendelea vizuri, ni watu wa Embu waangaliwe vizuri, kwa sababu upande wa chini mbele hakuna stima, kwa sababu kunasemekana kuna KenGen wa kugenerate na wale wengine wa kuuza. Kwa hivyo naunga mkono serikali ya Kenya Kwanza, kama hiyo mambo itaenda vizuri, jimbo la Embu iwe ya kwanza kuangaliwa, ndio tuweze kuwa tukilipa usuru, tukipata stima kila pahali pote, kwa sababu hata chakula na mambo ya elimu, pia hata hiyo mambo ya umeme, hizo ndamu singekuwa zinasaidia sisi ndio tuweze kuendelea vizuri. Hata maji ya kilimo wao wakitupatia, ingawa tunajua ni private company, lakini kuna mambo mengine huko wanavaa wao wakituangalilia. Kwa hiyo mto ya kutoka Masinga, Gitaru, Kamburu kwenda huko chini. Asante sana Bwana Speaker.
Thank you very much, Senator. When honorable members, I want us to move to the next order, and that is pursuant to standing order number 5-7. Yes, next statement, sorry, not order, sorry, yes. I want to call upon the Senate Majority Leader to issue a statement on the business of the Senate for the week commencing Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. Next order, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, pursuant to Standing Order 57-1, I hereby present to the Senate the business of the Senate for the week commencing Tuesday, 8th November 2022. Mr. Speaker, sir, in accordance with the Senate calendar approved on 12th October 2022, the Senate is scheduled to proceed for a short recess between 28th October and 7th November 2022. Regular sittings of the Senate will therefore resume on Tuesday, 8th November 2022. On that day, the Senate Business Committee will meet to reschedule the business of the Senate. This is projected to contain business that will not be concluded from today's order paper and any other business scheduled by the committee. The order paper for Wednesday, 9th November 2022 and for Thursday, 10th November 2022 will contain business that will not be concluded on Tuesday, 8th November 2022 and on Wednesday, 9th November 2022, respectively, as well as petitions and statements and any other business scheduled by the Senate Business Committee. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the recess period, several activities have been lined up. These include induction of the Senate Business Committee, which is scheduled for 30th October to 1st November 2022. And thereafter, the second induction for all honorable senators will be held from 2nd November to 4th November 2022. These events are critical to the working of the Senate, as they will provide an opportunity for the members of the Senate Business Committee to better understand the mandate of the committee, while the second induction of senators will largely focus on the various tools and mechanisms available to senators in order to actively discharge their constitutional mandate. A session of the Senate Standing Orders will also be conducted so that senators can better understand and appreciate transaction of business in the Senate. I cannot overstate the importance of the enforcement, aforementioned. I cannot overstate the importance of the aforementioned retreat and urge all senators to purpose to attend induction events, select committees, or will follow thereafter, in accordance with their respective work plans. Mr. Speaker, sir, in conclusion, I encourage senators and committee chairpersons who wish to sponsor bills or wish to have legislative proposals drafted to liaise with the office of the clerk at the earliest opportunity to have the bills fast-tracked. I thank you and hereby lay the statement on the table of the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, the Majority Leader, for your statement. I'm seeing interventions. Senator Kajwang. Moses.
Mr. Speaker, the statement of the Majority Leader usually does not elicit debate because it's more of agenda setting for the coming period. But, Mr. Speaker, I'd like the leadership of the House